Thank you for joining me today as we talk about creating a job application. Some of the basics that you want to remember when you're creating a job application is to use a professional email address. I provided some examples below, but a basic rule of thumb is to use your first and last name, and then you can add numbers or something like that if your first and last name are already taken. You also want to be sure that you follow the instructions carefully. Don't assume that all applications are the same because they're not. And a lot of times, your application will not be reviewed if you have not followed the instructions. Always be sure that you upload a resume and a cover letter. You want to make sure you tailor each job you apply for by using the job description. Applicant tracking systems are just picking up on certain keywords and things like that. So if you have not tailored your resume or your cover letter to the job, you could potentially fall through the cracks. Another thing is you want to be sure you write out all of the information that's on your resume on the application, even though you're going to upload your resume. Like I said, another reason for this is because the applicant tracking system is just looking for the keywords. So be sure that you write everything out. And the last thing is to be sure that you proofread each page before pressing submit. A simple error could cause your application to be passed over. Let's look at an example. At the top of this job application, they have the instructions listed. They are very important. You can see here it says if your application is incomplete or does not clearly show the experience and or training required, your application may not be accepted. It also asks that if you're not going to complete a section for any reason, that you put N/A. So if there are any blanks on your application could be passed up. That's a simple instruction that they've listed here. A lot of the information is going to be really basic on the application. First, last name, these are all things that are very simple to fill out. Here you see a telephone number is listed and then also an alternate phone. You may not have an alternate phone number, but don't leave that space blank. Just write in N/A. Different applications are going to want to know your availability. They want to know what days you're available. Are you looking for a full-time job, part-time job? Do you have a preference? They want to know how many hours you are looking to work per week. Also, are you available to work nights and what day you're available to begin? You will see different variations of this depending on the job that you're applying for. Just be sure you fill it out to the best of your ability and as honestly as you can. The last thing you want to do is just say you're available anytime just so that you get the job. And once you realize what the job is, you realize that there are certain days that you aren't available to do this job. So please be true to yourself and be honest when you fill this part out. Another thing that you might see on the job type section is salary expectations. That means they want to know how much money do you expect to make in this job. So be sure that you're honest on that part. If you really truly don't have an expectation, you don't care what you make, you can write negotiable. Don't leave it blank, just write negotiable, and then you can talk about it when you get offered the job. There will be a section asking for just general or additional information. They want to know if you've been employed by this organization, are you a US citizen, certain things like this. Be sure that you fill this information in and that you're honest. A lot of jobs will do a background check. So just because you might say yes or no, they're going to find out in the end anyway. For US citizenship, permanent resident, foreign national, to be hired in a job, you have to complete an I-9. So you're going to have to show proof of one of those items. The job may require a background check, and so they can find out any number of these things. So please be sure that you're completing all of this. If you have any questions, chances are good that you can call someone in their human resources department for clarification. Education. So some applications might want to know your high school, some may not. Just make sure that you're following the instructions when you look at this section and that you're completing everything. Years completed, for example, if you went to college, but you only did 3 years and you never graduated, well, you still have 3 years of college education. So make sure that you're listing that on here. If you went to two separate colleges, list both colleges on here. So don't leave any information out that could benefit you. You never know. Work experience. Chances are good that you will have this already listed on your resume, and you may think, I'm uploading my resume. Why do I need to fill all of this out? Well, you do. It's very important. So make sure that even if you're copying it from your resume, the company, the address, the name of your last supervisor, et cetera, that you are filling this part out. Starting salary and final salary. If you see this on a job application, it's often not required that you complete that. So you don't want to leave it blank, as we saw from the instructions from this job application, but maybe just write N-A, N-A. At the bottom, you'll see where it says list of jobs you held, duties performed, skills used or learned, etc. Of course, you can use everything that's listed on your resume, and you should, but if there's anything specific that you did that is really specific to this job, make sure that you're listing that first so that you're emphasizing that. That's the first thing that they see. That's the first thing that gets picked up. And at the bottom, you see, may we contact this employer? That's basically saying, can they call your previous employer and ask them for a reference? That is totally up to you if you're comfortable with them doing that. Don't feel like if you say no, that they're not going to hire you. Choose the best answer for you. Here are your actual references. So your references are going to be different than may we contact this employer. References are people that you choose who can give a good recommendation for you. Now, different companies are going to have different specifications for who can be a reference and who cannot be a reference. You see here, this company is excluding relatives and former employers. That is not often the case. Usually you can use a former employer, but here this company is excluding former employers. So be sure that you have people that you can call, maybe prior professors, prior coworkers, something like that, who you can use in a case like this where you can't use a former employer. And then at the bottom, you'll always have a certification that all of your answers are true. So be sure that you, to the best of your ability, are listing correct and accurate information for you. Related Mind the Gap sessions to check out are going to be keeping track of job applications during the job search. So you will most likely be entering your job applications in an applicant tracking system. So this will be helpful to teach you to navigate that. Just below, navigating applicant tracking systems. Decoding and diagramming the job description. That will be helpful for you when you're trying to change your resume and your cover letter, and you're trying to apply them to each job, and you're changing them for each job. Knowing how to decode and diagram the job description will be helpful for that. Producing high quality resumes and cover letters and developing a job search checklist are also sessions that you should check out. My name is India Butler. Here's my email address. If you have any questions about filling out a job application, feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you.